Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nova, and today we're going to be going over the best loadouts to use in all four of the forges in case you're farming, in case you're just trying to get through very quickly, if you want to min-max your build or your team composition to sit here and get through it as quick as possible. Maybe you're carrying a couple of friends and they don't know what's going on. So this video right here is going to be an all-around guide on what you need to do, the best team composition, the mods you want to run, the loadout that you want to run, and the strats that you can use to get through the forge bosses, whether you're low light or high light. So first we're going to go over the gear that you're going to want to run in terms of the resilience, the mods, and your weapons. So typically you want to stay above 5 resilience, that way you don't get one tapped by anything that's considered a major, whether it be a Colossus in the Volunder Forge or some of the captains inside of the Golfanin Forge. Even some of the Minotaurs inside of the Izanami Forge can one tap you if you're below 5 resilience. I've seen it happen. So you typically want to have above 5 resilience. None of the classes require recovery because each class has some sort of way within their subclass trees to get their health back, whether it's a melee on the Arc Strider or the tossable hammer on the Sunbreaker, all the way to the tossable grenades that the Dawn Blade actually has. What you really want to stack up is your mobility and your resilience. Somewhere 6 to 7 resilience is fine. You'll be able to take a lot of damage with 6 and 7 resilience. And stacking above 8 mobility is great because you'll be able to quickly pick up the orbs and toss them into the forge. Or, you'll be able to strafe quicker, which will allow you to avoid more shots from all of the adds. This is a horde based mode, so add control is severely needed. So going into the loadouts that you're going to want to run, if you're on a hunter, warlock, or a titan, you want to have anything that can add control. But in every single fire team, if you're running a coordinated fire team, you need to have a warlock with Rel Radiance for the boss fights. It's a standard. It's very good. It keeps you from dying because you typically want to avoid or ignore the adds in the boss phase. You get a limited amount of time to burn the boss, so having a Well of Radiance is perfect from the beginning of the fight to the end. So what you're going to want to run is grenade mods. I know I have Transcendent Blessings on my gear, but the reason why you want to run grenade mods is because in 2 of the forges you have fallen enemies. And if you run Scourge enough times and you can gather the hidden chest on the Sparrow race, you may get a chance at getting the Fallen Armaments mod, which basically does this. Killing a fallen enemy with a grenade causes heavy ammo to drop. Heavy ammo within the forges is a luxury. Like, it's a hidden gem. You need it. If you're running a machine gun, which I highly recommend you run for the forges, the machine gun, Hammerhead or Thunderlord, is the best add control you can possibly get. And since the object of the game when doing the forges is to get the adds out the way, grab the batteries and toss them in the forge, you can afford to, drop Whisper or Tractor Cannon or Queenbreaker or whatever you decide you want to use to put on Hammerhead, and then toss on an Izanagi's Burden for the actual boss fight. So what you typically want to run is Fallen Armaments, probably 3 grenade mods and a Paragon mod. I know I have the Transcendent Blessings. It's because I'm doing a lot of Dreaming City stuff right now. I'm mostly running through Riven, farming a couple of Shattered Throne runs. So what I would actually do, I don't have it yet, but I'm collecting all of the pieces of the Woven Firesmith set. And what I'm going to do is get another Fallen Armaments mod, put it on my gauntlets for the Woven Firesmith set, and then get 3 grenade mods and put them on all my pieces for the second set that I'm going to have, and that's going to be my forge set. That way I can have my Dreaming City set and my forge set. So with having 3 grenade mods, you'll basically have immediate grenades, allowing you to have an endless supply of heavy ammo when you need it. And if you run a machine gun like this, having a Rampage with a backup mag, I'm at 73 rounds, I have high caliber, quick draw. It's great. It's just you run over the adds, you grab the batteries, you turn them in, you're good to go. So in terms of weapons, what should you run? Well, obviously you should have a machine gun. You need the machine gun to mow through the adds. It's great for taking out the red bars, the yellow bars, and even some of the Colossuses. Now, some of you may be looking at this and wondering why I'm running the Izanagi's Burden when I can just run a Whisper and a shotgun at the primary in threat level. simply because Izanagi's Burden is just better than Whisper. I'm also going to be dropping a video on why the Izanagi's Burden is actually better than Whisper in all other ways except sustained DPS fights. So keep a lookout for that. But the reason why I'm running this is because in the Forge, it does more damage than Whisper, because Whisper is for sustained DPS over time and the fights aren't long in the Forge. If you're talking about a strike boss or maybe even a lost sector boss where there's some immunity phases, yeah, you can use Whisper. But in bursty, short-timed fights like the ones that are in the Forge, Izanagi's Burden right now is the king of burst damage. You can literally do more damage than a Celestial Nighthawk Goldie. It's ridiculous. So Izanagi's Burden is definitely better than Whisper in the Forge and in pretty much all other aspects in terms of receiving buffs, how the damage can be dealt. It's crazy. So in my secondary, I have the Kindled Orchid. Now, I know most people are looking for a Kill Clip Rampage mod, a roll, but I went with Kill Clip and Disruption Break because obviously Disruption Break is OP, and with Kindled Orchid and Izanagi's Burden, I can mow down anything that has a shield on it if it's not a red bar. If it is a red bar, it's going to die anyway when I break its shield. And in the Izanami Forge, where you have Minotaurs, this is what I'll typically run. I'll have the Kindled Orchid and my Izanagi's Burden, or I will actually throw on the Surrounded threat level. Even though I have the God roll one, where is it at? Oh, it's not on me, it's on my Titan. But even though I have the curated roll with Trench Barrel and Grave Robber, I like this one a lot better for the Forges because you're always going to be surrounded by 3 or more enemies, and when I break the shield on the Minotaurs, the threat level just mows down whatever is out there. Now, in terms of your team composition, in all of the Forges, I have a specific layout for the team composition that I like to run. For the Volunder Forge, I like to do the Hunter, the Titan, and the Warlock. So the reason for this is because you want 2 classes that can handle a side by themselves in each of the Forge. You don't want to stack 2 people on one side. The object of the game is to get all of the ads out the way and mow down whatever boss is there. And since you only have a limited amount of time to do it, the Titans, the Hunters, and the Warlocks for the Volunder Forge are pretty key for that. You can have the Doomfang Pauldron Bottom Tree Sentinel Titan for one side, typically the left side of the Forge on Volunder. You'll see some gameplay of me running in each Forge on my Arc Strider, by the way, so that way you can get an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about you need ad clearing supers. Most people, they'll run in there and they'll have, Golden Guns, Celestial Nighthawk for boss DPS. Everybody likes to hold on to their supers for the boss. My problem with that is that if you hold on to your supers for the boss, then you're generating no orbs for anybody else on your team. Not only that, but the ads aren't going to die as quickly as possible, which causes you to waste more time in the Forge. So what could have been a 3 to 4 minute Forge run turns into a 10 to 15 minute Forge run over and over again until you get it right. So yeah, you can have a Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun, but that one person is going to be holding on to their super the entire time, which means you have one less super to handle the ads. So typically for the Volunder Forge, a Doomfang Bottom Tree Sentinel Titan is perfect. A Raiden Flux Top Tree Arc Strider is perfect. And every single time you have a Warlock, I don't care what it is, you never want to do Chaos Reach Geomags. You always want to do Well of Radiance because you're ignoring the ads in the boss fight. And if somebody dies, that means no DPS. Dead DPS is bad DPS. So for the Gofanin Forge, it's going to be Hunter, Hunter, Warlock. Basically, Raiden Flux Arc Strider the entire way. One side for one Hunter, one side for the other. The Warlock can typically stay in the middle, just drop a Well of Radiance, and he'll be able to chain Well of Radiances between the orbs that the Arc Striders make. You'll also see some footage of me just mowing the entire Gofanin Forge with my Arc Strider. For the Izanami Forge, yet again, Hunter, Hunter, Warlock. Because in the Izanami Forge, it's literally one person to their own on each side. So when I was saying earlier that I run the Kindled Orchid plus the threat level, that's what I mean when I'm talking about you need to be able to hold a side by yourself, which is why Arc Strider is perfect, because in this top tree, when I melee an enemy, I get my health back. Where is it at? Here it is. You know, killing an enemy with this melee ability to trigger your health regeneration and increase your melee damage temporarily. It's ridiculous. So having the Radiant Flux, being able to triple my output and damage on my super against the adds, I can clear a side by myself. I can toss the orbs up to the guy that's standing in the middle, which has to be the Warlock, because the Warlock up there needs to be able to drop his own will so he can self-sustain. He's going to be receiving most of the adds between the Hydras, the Cyclops, the Fanatics, the Goblins, and the Minotaurs. And then what you're going to want to do is just have the two hunters down on each side, mowing everything, tossing the orbs up, and when you get to the boss fight, instead of running the Izanagi's Burden, I highly recommend that you instead actually do Whisper. Because once you open up the shield for the main boss on the Izanami Forge, Whisper becomes the best DPS weapon because you don't have to reload. And his crit spot, he's basically a standstill, mow me down kind of boss. On all of the other bosses where I would rather use Izanagi's Burden because the bosses can move, which makes it harder to hit the crits, there's a lot of people shooting you so your screen can flinch, Whisper of the Worm on the Izanami boss is better because you can stand inside of the well right under the forge and just shoot him, and literally about 3 shots from each person will kill him. That's how easy it is. Now for the Berguzia Forge, where I know some people may be talking about Titans with bubbles and melting point. You don't need all of that. Literally, again, it's Hunter x Hunter Warlock. Why? Well, simply because the Warlock can stay in the middle covered section where the boss normally spawns at, drop his well, he can chain supers between himself if he's running Phoenix Protocol. One hunter to his own side, the other one to his own side, treated like the Izanami Forge. Well of Radiance in the middle, and then you have 2 Arcstriders on both sides. The same can be said for Doomfang, Pauldron, Titans. You can do 2 Titans and a Warlock, but in every single team you need a Warlock with Well of Radiance just for the boss fight. So that's basically it. You're going to see some gameplay of me showing you how I typically run with my Arcstrider through all of the forges. I believe the first one is with my Titan, and I was showing you an alternative to what you could do if you're, if you happen to be playing with randoms and you just want to get through the forge quickly. Make sure you guys leave a like, make sure you guys subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the gameplay, and I will catch you in the next video.
Choice but to trust this as we go into the void. We are standing, staring into empty space, asking all our questions, answers we can't trace. Is this all there is? Is this all there is? I feel the waves of the change reflect on everything we know. How do you stand out from the infinite? The rate of growth is hard to keep up with. True destiny. Time won't slow down at all. Like a bird.